Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, my name is Matthew, also known as RedFlyer, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to properly use a torque wrench. So first, let's talk about some of the reasons you might need to use a torque wrench. Maybe you're like me and you either do work on your car or you just can't decide what color you want your wheels to be. So you've taken your wheels on and off many times to plasti dip them and to paint the brake calipers, video coming soon on that, and you want to take your wheels on and off often. However, the problem with this is taking your wheels on and off is harder than you might think because it can be difficult to know how tight to put them back on. And if you take your car to a shop that doesn't torque them correctly, this will happen and your lug nuts will get stuck and then they will warp. If you guys can see this, I don't think you can. Look along the top of that lug nut. It's all warped, which is why I cannot get this off for the life of me over the past 2 weeks. Hence why I haven't made a video. Still waiting on that. I'm gonna have to take it back to the shop and see if they can get it off so I can finish the rest of my wheels and dip them black again and paint the calipers. That's a whole nother problem. But when you're done taking your wheels off and you go to put them back on, you wanna make sure that your lug nuts are on correctly to the correct specification of your car to make sure that they won't be falling off, and they're also not over tightened so it's not damaging any of the parts, damaging the lug nuts, or gonna be too difficult to take off next time. So here is my torque wrench. It is a Tecton half-inch torque wrench right here. It was about 40 bucks on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description down below. It was like one of the best sellers in the category on Amazon. So I just, you know, this is the one I picked. It's worked well for me so far. It was about 40 bucks, pretty cheap. And I'm gonna show you guys how to set it to the correct reading and then how to find the correct socket for it in just a second. So as you guys can see at the bottom of the wrench right here, there is a little dial, and there's also some tick marks for different measurements. So whenever you store your torque wrench, you wanna read the instructions manual and see what it's supposed to be stored at, either zeroed out, or this one it says to store it at 10 pound-feet of torque, or you can zero out some of them too. But this one is said to be stored at 10, just so that way you're not damaging any of the parts over time. So you wanna make sure it's stored at the correct level. And then once you wanna set it to whatever your car's specification is, I'll show you how to do that. You can see right here, these are the measurements in pound-feet of torque, and my car is 100 pound-feet of torque. I think that's actually the standard for most basic cars are gonna be around 100, so that's my setting. So what you do first is you unscrew on the bottom right here, and then that will loosen the whole dial right here. So then you can twist up until you reach 100 pound-feet of torque. So as you can see right here, 100 is right about there, right above my fingers. So I'm gonna twist this up until I reach 100. Let me do it right here. It actually got really bright today. It was kind of rainy earlier. It wasn't a really nice day, but it is now. So let me twist this up to 100, right about there. And you can see that there's numbers along the bottom of this dial. Right here, you can see 0, 2, 4. I'm reading this backwards. The way you want to do it is you want to line up the 0 to whatever measurement you want to do. So I want 100, so then I line up the 0 with 100. Right there, if you guys can see it, hopefully it's focusing. This camera actually focuses decently well in the autofocus. But the 100 is lined up with the 0 right there. The 0 is lined up right across the 100 line. So now the torque wrench is set to 100 pound-feet of torque. And of course, again, when you store it, you want to make sure it goes back to that 0 value, or in my case, back to 10 pound-feet of torque. So next you have to find the correct socket for your torque wrench. Again, my wrench is a 1/2-inch torque wrench. That's the one that will be in the description down below, but you can use whatever you'd like. So I bought a bunch of 1/2-inch sockets. I have one right here. This is actually one of the flexible ones that's supposed to help you get in like weird tight spaces. I really wouldn't recommend getting them. Looking back, you're really not gonna use it, especially if you're taking your wheels off, maybe if you're doing other things, but not for your wheels. So I would just get straight ones. But I have the flexible ones right here. It does have the 1/2-inch right here that goes on the torque wrench. And then the other side, it came with a whole different plethora of sizes, but the way to check it is quite simple. All you have to do is come up to your wheel right here and pick one of the lug nuts and just test it to make sure it fits correctly. This of course fits right here because this is the correct one. And if it didn't fit, then I would just try a different one until I found the one that fit. So it's quite simple. And then once you've done that, let me just put down the camera here, 1 second. So once you've done that, the next step is to take your socket and actually place it on your torque wrench right here. Right, oh, no. There we go. That was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. And then of course you want to make sure your torque wrench is set to the correct setting. As you can see right here, you can flip it back and forth to forward or back. Of course we're gonna be tightening, so you want to set it to forward. Right there. There we go. And then of course it ratchets. So now it'll go back freely and then it gives you resistance when you pull forward. That's what you'd like. And one other thing to notice is that you should always use this for forward. I don't even know why they give you a reverse setting, because you should not use this to loosen lug nuts. It's really bad for it, and if you read the instructions, it says all over there not to use it to loosen. So I don't know why there is a reverse setting, unless if you had lug nuts that went the other way. But I don't really think that's how that works. So anyways, I've taken this top lug nut right here and I've already loosened it with my other wrench, not with my torque wrench of course, so I can take it off with my finger right here. Right there. Here's the lug nut, and I'm gonna tighten it back on with my finger first. These lug nuts are a lot better quality than the ones that came with the Ford Focus. Ford kind of cheaped out on the lug nuts, not gonna lie, kind of disappointing. So there we go, I've tightened it about as far as I can with my fingers, and now it's time to use my torque wrench to make sure that it's set to the correct pound-feet of torque so it won't be falling off and it won't be over-tightened as well. So all I'm gonna do is take my torque wrench, move the camera forward just a tiny bit, angle it up there. So I'm gonna take my torque wrench, I'm gonna place it over the lug nut, make sure it's popped in right there. Now I'm gonna take my left hand, place it up against here, and give pressure the entire time to make sure that the torque wrench doesn't fall off the lug nut. I'm gonna give pressure with my left hand and I'm gonna push down with my right hand until I hear it pop. Listen for the pop. So I pushed it through the first set and I didn't hear it pop yet, which means I still have to go more, so I'm gonna ratchet it back up to the top and go down again. And there we go, there was the click. As soon as you hear that click, you know that you're all done. I'm gonna go through it one more time just to show you guys. First we're gonna loosen, and this is quite difficult with one hand. There we go, now we've loosened. Now let's take off this wrench. Right there. And let's grab our torque wrench. I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to do this with one hand. Put it over the top here, pop it into place. There we go. Keep that pressure going into the wheel, and I cannot do this with one hand. Let me put the camera down. I can't do it with one hand because I have to apply that pressure into the socket again because these are the angled sockets that come out. So I'm gonna take my left hand, push it into the socket right here. I'm gonna take it up to the top and then I'm gonna pull down. No pop yet, I gotta put some weight into it. And there's that click. Hopefully you guys heard that click, and now we know that this lug nut is set to 100 pound-feet of torque. Again, I can't take it off with my finger, so we know it's tight enough. It's not gonna be coming off the tire, and it's also not gonna be too tight that it's gonna damage any of the parts. So that is pretty much it on how to use a torque wrench. Again, make sure you go and bring your torque wrench back down to its 0 setting, or in my case, 10 pound-feet of torque. Whatever it says in the instruction manual, make sure you set it back down to the bottom so you're not damaging the parts over time. These are made with just a bunch of springs and spring-loaded stuff, so you don't wanna be leaving it all stretched out because then it'll wear down over time. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If it did help you, be sure to drop me a like down below in the comments. No. Drop me a like down below and drop a comment on what you want to see in future videos. Hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next one.
Say that it feels right.